Thousands of African Americans are quietly packing up their lives and moving to Africa. Entire families, retirees, even young entrepreneurs are choosing to leave behind the American dream for something else, something deeper. From Atlanta to Accra, from Chicago to Kigali, a powerful question is rising. Why? Why would people walk away from the richest nation on earth? What are they finding across the ocean that America can't give them? This isn't tourism. This isn't a trend. It's a movement, a silent migration that challenges everything we thought we knew about race, belonging, and the future. Could Africa really be the new promised land? And if so, what does that mean for the millions still living in America and for the continent waiting to receive them? For many African Americans, the decision to relocate is shaped by history as much as by the present. Critics of the American system point to more than 4 centuries of structural inequality. They highlight how disparities appear in schools with fewer resources, in hospitals with unequal outcomes, and in neighborhoods marked by redlining. They argue that these systemic barriers are not isolated incidents, but patterns that continue to limit opportunity. High-profile cases of police violence have also drawn international attention. Victims such as George Floyd and Breonna Taylor became symbols of deeper concerns. For some observers, these tragedies underscore the risks that many African Americans face in daily life, risks that extend beyond individual encounters to broader institutional issues. Generational wealth gaps remain another point of criticism. Discriminatory housing and lending policies from decades past left lasting effects, with families unable to pass down property or businesses on the same scale as others. The result, according to many analysts, is a structural disadvantage that continues today. Faced with these realities, some African Americans have begun considering alternatives. For them, relocating abroad, especially to Africa, represents not rejection, but exploration. A search for spaces where identity, opportunity, and belonging might align differently. Observers note that the migration is not solely about escaping difficulties in the United States. For many, it is also about returning, reconnecting with heritage that was disrupted centuries ago. The transatlantic slave trade cut family lines in half, erasing names, languages, and traditions. Generations grew up with missing pieces in their history. Modern tools like affordable DNA testing and global genealogical databases have started to change that. Today, millions of African Americans are able to trace their ancestry back to specific regions, ethnic groups, and cultures. Yet critics argue that genetic evidence alone cannot restore a sense of identity. Many describe the need for a physical connection, to walk on ancestral soil, visit villages and markets, or stand at historic sites such as the coastal castles where enslaved people were once taken. For some, these visits are viewed as acts of closure. For others, they represent the beginning of a new chapter. In 2019, Ghana launched the Year of Return, a landmark initiative that formally invited the African diaspora to reconnect with the continent. According to official reports, more than 1 million visitors arrived in Ghana that year alone, attending cultural festivals, business forums, and historic memorials. At Cape Coast Castle, the symbolic door of no return, once a passage into slavery, was reframed by visitors as a doorway back to heritage and identity. Many describe the experience as transformative, but analysts emphasize that these efforts are not purely symbolic. Several African nations, including Ghana and Rwanda, have introduced practical measures such as streamlined residency processes, investment incentives, and in some cases, pathways to permanent citizenship. Critics of earlier policies argue that past governments failed to make diaspora engagement more than ceremonial. Current leaders, however, present the return of African Americans and other members of the diaspora as a form of renewal, one that could bring skills, global networks, and capital to strengthen local economies. Economists point out that Africa has become one of the fastest growing regions in the world. Cities such as Lagos, Nairobi, Kigali, and Accra are emerging as hubs for technology, culture, and finance. Venture capital investment has increased steadily, and startup ecosystems in sectors like fintech, health tech, and creative industries are drawing international attention. Observers note that land and property prices in many African markets remain comparatively affordable when measured against U.S. urban centers. This creates opportunities for investment, home ownership, and long-term wealth building. For members of the African diaspora, these developments carry particular significance. Analysts suggest that relocating to Africa can mean greater access to entrepreneurship and generational wealth opportunities, avenues that some argue are harder to secure in the United States due to structural barriers. Critics, however, caution that Africa's economic growth is uneven. While certain cities are booming, other regions still face infrastructure challenges, unemployment, and political instability. The overall picture is one of contrast, significant promise alongside persistent risks. Another factor attracting attention is cost of living. Analysts note that pensions or modest savings, which may barely cover rent in cities such as New York or Los Angeles, can provide a comfortable lifestyle in places like Accra, Kigali, or Dar es Salaam. Housing is often highlighted as the most striking comparison. A budget that secures a small apartment in the U.S. can provide a larger home with outdoor space in parts of Africa. Fresh food from local markets, stronger community networks, and access to affordable domestic services further enhance day-to-day life for many returnees. Healthcare is also a consideration. While infrastructure varies by country and region, observers point out that private medical care in some urban centers is comparatively affordable when measured against U.S. costs. Routine treatments and medicines are often within reach for more households. Challenges remain. Power outages and gaps in public services are reported in certain areas. Yet critics of the negative outlook argue that these shortcomings have fueled innovation, from the rapid expansion of solar energy to the growth of local tech-driven solutions. Observers suggest that the most compelling factor for many returnees is not financial but social, a sense of belonging. In African cities and towns, African Americans describe walking through markets without being questioned, receiving spontaneous invitations to homes and community events, and participating in cultural rituals that reinforce inclusion. What feels ordinary to locals can feel transformative to those who spent years as the only one in classrooms, workplaces, or neighborhoods in the United States. Analysts note that this form of recognition is often described as deeply restorative. It provides an emotional counterbalance to experiences of isolation abroad and offers what some view as a psychological return to continuity with heritage. An increasing number of retirees are part of this movement. Instead of settling into quieter routines in the U.S., many are relocating to coastal towns, vibrant capitals, or smaller villages across Africa. Critics of the retirement abroad trend argue that integration challenges remain, but supporters highlight how many retirees go beyond rest, opening schools, launching guest houses, or mentoring local youth. In doing so, they become active participants in shaping community life and contributing to long-term development. So what does this migration represent? For the United States, analysts view it as a moment of reflection, a signal that systemic challenges are influencing some citizens to seek opportunities elsewhere. Critics argue that the loss of skilled professionals and entrepreneurs could have long-term social and economic implications if the trend continues. For Africa, many leaders frame it as renewal. Welcoming members of the diaspora is seen not only as an act of historical justice, but also as a strategic opportunity to strengthen economies, expand networks, and reshape global perceptions of the continent. Observers agree that this movement is about more than relocation. It speaks to history, identity, and the ongoing search for belonging. And for thousands of African Americans, that search no longer points across the ocean, but toward a home they now find on African soil.